that in this now famous 2.25-page document, there were about 35 names listed. This is pretty serious. Have we had anything as serious as this so far?
Well, yes, I think we've got something much more serious right now.
Well, I'm talking about up to prior to this hearing.
May I answer that question, Mr. Chairman?
Right.
I think we've got a much more serious situation now in communist infiltration of the CIA. Disturbs me beyond words.
Well, we haven't. The members of the committee have not been advised, and I do think that...
Oh, yes, they have.
Have we, the names and of the people...
I've discussed this matter with the members of the committee. I also discussed with the members of the committee the question of communist infiltration of atomic and hydrogen bomb plants. I felt that was... I think even more important than this infiltration of
just let me finish in view of this one point. May I have from the files all the memos and meetings and minutes with reference to this matter so that we on the committee can be fully informed?
You certainly may, Senator. Certainly may.
Well, may I ask the distinguished chairman, have we yet received the names, and I assume they're in the file, of the claimed 133 communists that are ready for investigation? I've asked for it. Have I yet received it?
You would know better than I, Senator. The information is available to you.
But I'd like to know something in advance. I'd like to have at least a little advance information.
Senator McClellan, may I say that you know that I have been tied up here day and night with this investigation. I frankly don't have the time now, and that's one of the reasons why I object to this show continuing on the road. As soon as we get through with this, I'm sure the Senator Markinson knows that I have been always completely frank with him. He can have every piece of information we have. It so happens, as you know, I've got a lot of respect for the Senator Markinson. I hope that.
Well, I thank you.
I hope that will hurt you in your campaign.
I think you know I never want anything but what's fair, and that's all I'm asking now.
You will have every piece of information, John, that
I'll be very glad to get what I've requested at your convenience. I hope it'll be soon.
Mr. Cone, what is the exact number of communists or subversives that are loose today in these defense plans?
The exact number that is loose, sir?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Roughly how many?
I can only tell you, sir, what we know about.
Well, that's 130, is that right?
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cold War Radio here on our home base, WAAR. We are America Radio, your number one source for streaming political and government talk anywhere. I'm Hutch Bailey Jr., deep down in the bunker in my Smith & Wesson studio in the city of Pittsburgh. Now, we hope to get Stacy in here momentarily. She's scheduled to come on. Haven't been able to get in contact with her as of yet, but I'm sure that will fix itself as we go. Please follow me on Spreaker, ladies and gentlemen. Like the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cold War Radio, 2 A's in war. You can catch the show on Blueberry, Roku, YouTube. Cold War Radio is an iHeartRadio program. You can catch it on iHeartRadio. A very good free app, especially if you're traveling between states, long distances. We also have the Cold War Radio app that is free for iTunes and Androids. The email is scrtv@live.com, and the call-in line 412-567-1460. It'll be much better when we upgrade our phone lines, which we are going to do very soon. I'm not exactly sure when. I have to go purchase another computer just to dedicate just to that. but it will be worth it in the long run, I am sure. You can go to steelcityresistance.blogspot.com, catch the show notes, the Spreaker chat room. There's a link to that there. There's also the research room and the show notes links. And there's a donate button in the right-hand column if you so desire to go that route. We would appreciate it. Now, I'm noticing a little bit a trend downward a little bit in listeners, and I don't know if that's because I get so opinionated. I'm going to do that tonight too, by the way. I'm gonna generate some hate and discontent maybe, but that's just the way it rolls. I won't sit here and tell you something that I don't feel or that I don't believe. But I would like to get some more listeners and get this back on the upward trend. It's not that bad. But, you know, if you know somebody that's like-minded or somebody that maybe doesn't have as many of the facts when you talk to them that might be interested in listening 3 nights a week, or 4 if they come on Sunday, or 5 or 6 rather, if they listen to Wayne Dupree's show also. But I'd like to get some more people in this Cold War radio audience. And it goes back and forth. I just, when you're in this business, numbers, you look at them and it's pretty much your report card, and don't want to see any downward trends for sure. Now, I want to get into this thing with, and I'm going to do it in 2 different ways. First of all, we're just going to get right into it, and I know that there is no question that Barack Obama or his administration or his proxy or somebody that he delegated authority to, probably in writing, spied on the Trumps, the whole campaign. And we know that, and I just want to share some things with you. Newt Gingrich was on with Sean Hannity. I cut most of Sean Hannity out, but I want you to hear what Newt had to say. It's really, this whole situation, I watched a news clip from the local news, which uses one of the networks for their news feed, and really the entire story with the important precedent that this has set and with the crimes that are being uncovered. All they're talking about is Nunez, however you say his name, the Republican chair of the Intelligence Committee. And all this guy did, and he, like a Republican, he immediately came out and apologized, like a good little Republican. I'm going to get into that later too. But let's listen to Newt on the Hannity show.
President Trump has now been saying for weeks that, in fact, surveillance was collected on members of his team and himself. Now, Nunez briefed the president at the White House earlier today, and afterwards he took questions from the, destroy press media. Take a look.
Are you saying that it was political surveillance of political opponents, as the president has suggested in his tweets?
What I've read bothers me, and I think it should bother the president himself and his team, because I think some of it seems to be inappropriate.
Now, President Trump was asked today about these revelations, and here is what he said. Take a look.
Do you feel vindicated by Chairman Nunez coming over here?
I somewhat do. I must tell you, I somewhat do. I very much appreciated the fact that they found what they found, but I somewhat do.
Well, I hope that both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees are going to dig into this and rip apart the bureaucracies and find out who did it, who authorized it, how did they make the changes that the Obama presidency made to make it easier to leak. This is really very, very sobering about American civil liberties. Here apparently you have a president whose party is defeated, who then uses the intelligence apparatus of the United States and then changes the rules knowing it will make it easier to leak. And this whole thing is sick. I also think that it is astonishing to have had everybody pile on President Trump, and now turn out that President Trump is right. I look forward to the New York Times and the Washington Post issuing editorials of mea culpa, admitting that Trump was right and they were wrong. And I love the idea of CBS and NBC and ABC actually admitting that their coverage has been wrong and their assumptions have been wrong.
All
CNN
of them have been wrong. They've been wrong.
Yeah.
Well, did they have a warrant for those? Apparently not. It might be more felonies. That's the one thing that we seem to have clear here. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we've got to go back to the rule of law. That's why I think the House and Senate Intelligence Committees have to have deep investigations, tear this thing apart, and figure out who did what, when did they do it, who authorized it, who broke the law, and then insist that the Justice Department prosecute the people who broke the law. I mean, this is one of the most incredible breaches that I can think of since World War II, where an American elected, the new elected president, is being in effect spied upon by his own government. That's really sober.
Now, you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, what he said right there at the end. We've got a criminal government in the Democrat Party, and you've got people that don't care. I mean, this is something that is so serious. And after all of these people stood side by side and shoulder to shoulder swearing to God that Trump was a fool and nothing happened, and then to have this come out and to have them clown themselves the way they are is just it is an embarrassment, and it is not going to work. It is not going to work. Trust me on that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome from Atlanta, Georgia, Stacey Rush. Good evening, Stacey.
Helping him, and that this whole thing could very well be blown wide open. And honestly, it should concern every single American. The fact that is one of the major parties of our country.
Especially the electorate. Now, the criminals, I can understand because they're probably all terrified that they're going to go to prison, which I hope a lot of them do. And if there's any Republicans involved, I hope they get tarred and feathered and hung in the public square. I mean, we have to get our country back, and the only way we can do that is with law and order. And with law and order, there's probably going to be some level of civil unrest, and bring it, because we have to do this now, or it's going to be a civil war later.
The voice instead of knowing what's going on. And honestly, I think a lot of the electorate doesn't find Obama spying on, or even let's take Obama's name out of it, an outgoing administration spying on an incoming opposition party administration. I believe that a lot of the electorate doesn't think there's anything wrong with it, and that is the bigger issue.
And if you listen to the clowns in the media, there's no reason that they wouldn't think that. If they're just a light thinker and just a dabbler in, maybe they watch the news at 6:30 and that's it, and they listen to these people, they wouldn't think that anything's wrong. But I'll tell you, the show notes are going to get blown away now. I'm not even going by them anymore. I got stuff I want to talk about now. You saw this happen today with the conservatives in the House basically not coming up with the votes for this ridiculous, destructive, stupid bill that Paul Ryan brought out. And now you see we have got people now that are no different than Obama followers on the Trump side. We've got people that are lining up to disparage and blame and try to destroy these the Freedom Caucus, and it's absolutely unbelievable. It's not their fault that they're standing up. You know, when the man said, "I want to repeal 100% every single word of Obamacare," and that's what the man said. When he said that, that's why he got elected. And when you see pushback, when a stupid bureaucratic bill from the Chamber of Commerce comes out with Paul Ryan's hand on it, and you have people against it, and then they want to turn on them like there's something wrong with them. No, there's something wrong with Ryan. And I'm disappointed in the president right now that he didn't see through this and didn't see that, yeah, okay, maybe just a portion of the House is not for it. But I'm going to tell you what, 80% of the country is not for it either.
Absolutely. And I'm getting reading in our chat room that people are not able to hear me right now, so I don't know if you can do a tweak. I can also call you back on...
All right. Let me hang up, and then I'll see what's wrong, and I'll call you back. All right. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. These kind of things happen from time to time. That being said, I just got to look here, and I think I know what it is, and I do know what it is. That is what it is. So let me just think. Okay, like that and like that, and we will call Stacy right back, and you will be able to hear her just like magic. In just a second. She probably ran from the room thinking it was going to take a couple minutes. So we will call her back in just a second. So do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as you hear Stacy come back in, how about letting us know so we don't do that again. I don't like radio that's not quality, and I apologize for that absolutely. Now let me just do this again. And everything's going to be good. But you know, this whole thing, I don't go for this following somebody like you're worshiping an idol. You know, Donald Trump, and believe me, I voted for him, I campaigned for him, I prayed for him, I want him to succeed. But in the end, in the final analysis, Donald Trump is a man, and a man can make mistakes. A man will make mistakes, and I believe that this was a huge one. I mean, I think getting behind a bill as bureaucratic, a bill that does not have any hope of allowing premiums to go down because you're keeping the health exchanges, you're keeping the essential care list where a 65-year-old guy has to pay for insurance that he'll never use. When you do that, and when you keep people on for all this pre-existing conditions and just things that won't work when it comes to insurance. When you do that, there's no way. When you keep somebody on their parents' insurance till they're 26, I mean, first of all, who's going to buy insurance when they know they don't have to? You know, if you don't have to buy insurance until you're sick, why would you possibly buy it? What would make you buy it if you knew you could get it when you needed it, and you don't have to get it beforehand? And you know, the whole idea of insurance, it's like a gamble. You know, the insurance company is gambling on healthy people so they have the funding to provide for people that aren't so healthy. So, I mean, you need to repeal it and start over. Ann Coulter had the best method of them all when she said, you know what, how about we can do health care in one line and one sentence. There shall be health insurance sold in the free market. And that's it. And then what you do with the rest of the population, the people that cannot afford health insurance, you worry about them. You let the federal government worry about them. And, you know, that's obviously not where we went. We decided that we were going to just make Obamacare, make a federal program for everybody. And the federal government will administer that. And, you know, don't worry. As soon as we get to, when it gets to phase 3 or phase 2, and it gets to the Health and Human Services secretary, he can just go ahead and take care of everything right there in an administrative fashion. And I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, another thing, enough on that for right now. What I want to talk about is, and if I sound a little bit like I wasn't all in, I'm trying my hardest on the right-hand side to get Skype to work, and it's not doing too well. But, you know, one of the things that I want to thank Donald Trump for is finally, you know, I have these people that I really looked up to, and Charles Krauthammer was one of them. And when I saw him and his analysis of Donald Trump, that was the main reason that I went and supported Donald Trump, because I saw Charles Krauthammer belittling him, mocking him, and it actually, it really ticked me off. And that's what started me paying attention to what Donald Trump was saying and what Charles Krauthammer and others, many others, were saying about what Donald Trump said. And the two sides of the equation did not add up. And I listened to, first of all, let's listen to Charles Krauthammer and his analysis of the spying situation on President Trump. This was from yesterday, and I want you to listen to this just a second. And well, I will do that in just a minute. Let me do this first. I want to go to Krauthammer, though, because what he did was epic. But Stacey, do we have you in there?
I hope so. Somebody type in whether or not they can hear me okay.
Let us know in the chat room. But what we're going to do is I want you to listen to the difference between what Charles Krauthammer said today and what he said last week. So let's listen to Charles Krauthammer from...
some measure of vindication?
Well, we don't know. There's so much about the Nunez report that we don't know. We don't know what kind of communication was intercepted, whether I assume it was legal. I assume, therefore, it involved a foreign person. It's, for example, an ambassador. He told us it had nothing to do with the Russians. So, and this is not new. We have known, number one, that the idea that Obama ordered the tapping of Trump, there's simply no evidence for that. There has also been a second story that we have talked about continually, which is that there appears to have been, for sure, illegal, if not illegal, improper unmasking of Americans. We know that is so because of the Flynn unmasking. What we didn't know until today is, did that apply to others? Did that involve wiretaps that did not involve the Russians? We now know that is yes. But we don't know if this is listening in on Trump operatives, on Trump himself, or whether it's chatter by others about the Trump transition. Until we know about those questions, we are in the dark the same way the leading Democrat on the committee is in the dark.
So, Stacey, Charles Krauthammer is still as much in denial about this as Karl Rove was the night that Mitt Romney lost. I mean, these people, they can't. He says that it's about the Russians. It's not. It's clearly had nothing to do with a Russian. I mean, it's clear in what's coming out, and I believe even more is going to come out in the days to come. I think Charles Krauthammer, and I want to get your thoughts on this, but what I'm going to play next is what he said last week, and when you hear that, it's going to be very clear that somebody told him what to say.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? I mean, the guy. This is when I was IMing you, and I said he turned green.
Yeah,
because this is right after it broke.
He's like sour Krauthammer. I mean, seriously. You know, Hutch and I were talking offline. It is amazing how some of these Inside the Beltway reporters have handled this. It's almost as if you feel like they are somehow involved in this a little bit more than just being so oblivious and so caught up in their own bubble. But I agree with you, Hutch. There was just a report up on Drudge that stated that there is a potential smoking gun to be released by the NSA by Friday. And I want everyone to, and Hutch, I didn't talk to you about this, but I wonder if you've seen some of the reporting that Lee Stranahan has been working on, and he's one of the best investigative reporters out there, in my opinion. And when he has a gut feeling about a story, he's like a dog with a bone, and the angle that he's covering right now is this whole story that has been concocted since the Getty Up about this being Russia who hacked the DNC, and some of the playing parts and the company who who actually gave the information to the FBI because the DNC never let them see the servers, did business with one of the relatives of Comey, and on top of it, CrowdStrike said in one of the interviews that they basically were told that Russia played a part in this, that it helped bolster what occurred. And then Lee Stranahan was also talking about one of the things that CrowdStrike used to say that Russia had hacked the DNC servers was in fact something that never occurred. They said that there was a Russian program used on some Ukrainian systems that crashed some weapons of theirs, and the people that they cited who said that this was actually Russian hackers who had caused the damage said it never occurred. That CrowdStrike had sourced these particular folks through the Ukraine. So I think that this has the potential to be such a huge story, and that whole kind of diatribe that I just went through is that there may be proof out there that this whole Russian story, we've all in theory thought it was somewhat concocted, but now it seems like it may have been concocted after the fact to cover up for why they were surveilling the Trump team. That's kind of my take on the story.
And you look at it and you got to wonder, is Matt Boyle and Breitbart, have they been co-opted? Because they were going to fire Stranahan over this, and he ended up quitting.
It was very interesting, and I've been following that all day today, just going back and listening to his periscopes and listening to him talk about this story. And I think that it is that it really does seem to have some meat to it. And I was really surprised that they didn't want him to go back and talk about this. And so then that made me, or to ask the question in the press briefing, so then that made me back up for a minute, and I thought, well, wait a minute, is there something going on between Trump, and I'm not saying with Russia or what have you, but maybe something that the Trump administration doesn't want to come out. I mean, I don't understand why Breitbart would have wanted to pull him out of the press corps and specifically have him not ask these questions, because I think this gives a reason that the Obama administration was maybe trying to cover up their surveilling Trump and coming up with this Russian narrative. I don't know if that made sense.
The only thing that I can think of maybe is unless it's coming from Bannon, because he's much older than Boyle or any of them, and they probably really look to him as a leadership figure. And unless it's coming from him, it may just be that Stranahan's older than them too, and they might just be intimidated by the guy. You never know. I mean, we're gonna have to see. But in the meantime, I want you to listen to Krauthammer just merely 1 week ago, and how dead on certain this guy was. When I heard this really sent the flares up. When I heard Krauthammer do this, let's listen. You guys decide.
It's pretty old-fashioned stuff, but that really covers surveillance and many other things. And nobody ever talks about the fact that it was in quotes, but that's a very important thing. But wiretap covers a lot of different things. I think you're going to find some very interesting items coming to the forefront over the next 2 weeks.
Well, author, columnist, and American thinking man Charles Krauthammer joins us now. Charles, thanks a lot for coming on. I guess what bothers me about that is I think that it's overwhelmingly likely that electronic communications from Trump advisors were swept up by American intelligence agencies during the campaign, either for good reasons or bad. But I think it likely happened. But I think the White House's unwillingness to prove it distracts from that. It undervalues or undermines their case, but also it detracts from like a conversation we should be having about surveillance.
And it makes you question the credibility of the president on anything.
Right.
You know, he really should stop.
It makes you question the credibility of the president on anything. Mm-hmm. This is Charles Krauthammer. Let's continue.
Digging. We have now had the heads of the Senate and House Intelligence Committees, a Democrat and a Republican, come out and say they haven't seen a shred of evidence that this is true. There is nobody in the administration who will say this is true. They'll all say we have to investigate. Why? As you said in the question, you're the president, you pick up the phone, you call the head of the CIA, the FBI, the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence. You've got the answer at your fingertip. You don't need an investigation. Look, there's not a person in Washington who thinks that there actually was a wiretap, that this is true.
There's not a person in Washington that thinks that there was a wiretap, that this is true. Continue, Charles. You're doing good.
The president, look, he seems to have a belief in conspiracy theories. This is, after all, a man who said that Ted Cruz's father was involved in some way with Lee Harvey Oswald. That's pretty Twilight Zone stuff. So this is a lot less kooky than that, but there is no evidence. But as you say, it detracts from the fact that we do know that there was legal wiretapping of Russian officials that might have swept up Americans in it, and there could have been, I would go one step beyond that and say there could have been improper handling. When Americans are swept up in that kind of legal wiretap of a foreigner, the intelligence agencies are supposed to cover up and to disguise the identity of the American to protect them. There could have been mishandling of this, particularly in the case of General Flynn, and that is, I think, an issue that ought to be raised. But I think it's really odd here, Tucker. We have two conspiracy theories. A, the wiretapping of Trump Tower. That didn't happen, and we're chasing our tails on this. The other is the collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians, the alleged collusion that Democrats have been jumping on. There is no evidence of that either. We just had today.
So now you know what 21st Century Fox wants you to think. It's unbelievable the way he went so far in that little piece. I'm stunned, Stacey. It's and then he has to turn right around. I loved it watching him after it came out. But I mean, he was so absolute in that piece, and there are so many conservatives that follow Charles Krauthammer the way people followed Obama. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm just trying to put it out there. The guy is not all that.
No, he reminds me a little bit more of the George Will type of quote-unquote conservative, you know? And
they're best buddies.
I just, it bothers me so much that I can't decide whether or not they don't want to believe that this type of nefarious behavior happens, or that they know it happens and they just don't want the regular people to know that it happens, you know?
Yeah, I don't know which.
I don't know either. I'm glad that he had to kind of eat his words a little bit, but I also, the thing that bothers me so much about this whole Trump situation is that they are trying to discount the seriousness, and this is so serious. If we found out nothing else except for what we know right at this moment, this is already serious. Yeah. And Charles Krauthammer and the rest of the mainstream media are trying to discount the seriousness of it because of Donald Trump's tweet.
Yeah, and I mean, they better get over it soon. I mean, it's something. You know, one of the things, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but right after Barack Obama was elected president, George Will and Charles Krauthammer invited him over for dinner. I mean, this is something, they're the ultimate insiders.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they have been, and I don't know if you guys were able to see, too, where have I get? Maybe we haven't had them. Okay, since I've been paying attention, but where are the Woodwards and Bernsteins out there? These are some serious, juicy, big deal stories that could make a career. You could be the Rush and the Bailey of 2017, uncovering this crazy mass conspiracy. Where are these journalists? What happened to them that we don't have people out there doing what Lee Stranahan is doing and really trying to come up with the real story? They don't want to know the truth because it hurts their side. And that distresses me more than anything, Hutch. This is a big deal.
They're in full protection mode. I mean, full. And when I say that, I don't mean either party. I'm talking about the ruling class. I'm talking about the elites in D.C. This will blow that place up.
It will blow it up big league.
Yeah, and it needs to. It really does. Now, we're going to shift gears just a little bit here because I came across a story, and it should be obvious to anybody, but the extent with which it hit me personally made me bring it on the program because it's my program. But the story is from CNS News by Terrence P. Jeffrey, and it's titled, Chicago, Detroit, Baltimore lead the nation in population loss. Maricopa County has biggest gain. And I'm not going to go on and on about this, but it should be obvious that as the Democrat Party, the Democrat crime family, leftism, progressivism, communism gains traction inside the Democrat Party, it's causing the Democrat Party to just completely hemorrhage, and these bastions, these leftist cities, where I could tell you so many different ways. My whole state, Pennsylvania, is turning into New York. I mean, my gas is 60 cents higher a gallon than the states I'm connected to, than West Virginia and Ohio. The taxes just continue to rise. And as I'm reading this, it says the counties containing Chicago, Detroit, and the independent city of Baltimore were the biggest population losers in the United States from 2015 to 2016, according to data released today by the Census Bureau. And as I'm going down here, it's talking, and Cook County is probably the most corrupt county, and it has been for over 100 years. I mean, Cook County is why JFK got elected, which he probably shouldn't have. But I'm looking at this list, and my county, Allegheny County, where allegedly Hillary Clinton won by 100,000 votes, which did not happen, is number 7 on the list. You know, this is hitting everywhere. The top, I'll just go down real quick. Cook County, Illinois, Wayne County, Michigan, Baltimore City, Maryland, Cuyahoga County, Ohio, that's Cleveland, Suffolk County, New York, Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, San Juan County, New Mexico, St. Louis City, Missouri, and Jefferson County, New York, are losing hundreds of thousands of people. And they're all Democrat-ruled. And when you look on the other side of it, the ones that are gaining, I mean, it's all Arizona, Texas, Nevada, Washington State, unbelievably, California, Riverside County, Texas, Florida.
Why do you think that's the reason they're gaining is illegal immigration? They count them in the census, right. You know? So
that's true.
I mean, I'm not saying, I don't know where the people in Detroit and such are going, but I have a hard time believing they're leaving Detroit and Chicago and heading to Arizona. I think your Texas and your Arizonas are filled with illegal immigrants populating those, and it doesn't surprise me. I would leave if I were in an inner city, if I were in a city controlled by Democrats like these failing cities. I would be on the first plane, train, car, bike out of there as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah, I know, and I am. I mean, I have to wait. I'm invested here, but as soon as everything stabilizes, I'm heading out of here. There's no question about that. I might even come to Georgia. You never know. I'll probably go to the coast, though.
We would love to have you.
So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it goes without saying, this is failing. They're losing power, and they're looking worse and worse as they go. I mean, you look at the Judiciary Committee and the votes getting ready to come on Gorsuch, and the Democrats are going to filibuster.
Oh my God!
This guy has an impeccable record.
He couldn't be a better human being. He restores my faith in humanity, and these Democrats are going to filibuster him. But you know what, Hutch? They have to, right? I mean, you've got the travel ban that's probably going to go up to the Supreme Court, and I cannot imagine they would not rule 8-0 for it, because it is so crystal clear that Trump has the ability to do what he's done and then some. But, they don't want him on that Supreme Court, especially for that decision. So I think they're trying to hold out as long as humanly possible on Gorsuch.
Well, I'll tell you, they need to go ahead and do it. They need to impeach, filibuster for a couple days. And you know what? The next one, when Ruth Bader Ginsburg retires, or when one of those other ones retires, they need to put Rush Limbaugh on the court. They need to get, and they should have done that if they were really thinking. They should have done that for this time, because they're going to end up using the nuclear option anyway.
Right. They are, and you know what? Too bad, Dems. Who came up with the nuclear option? Right. Who did that? Democrats. And I'm tired of the bull. And listen, I want to get back to the rule of law. I want to get back to the way things used to be. But the Democrats are the ones who screwed up this system, and we have got to fix it by any means necessary. This guy is more than well qualified. If we were not in such a heated type of situation created by the Democrats, he'd probably be approved, 98-2 in any other situation. I mean, and I say do it, and then when the lefty goes, you get Ted Cruz on the court or Mike Lee. I mean, we fill it with conservatives, as far as I'm concerned.
And you look at the fact of history, and the Republicans voted in just leftists like there are no. What's the little old lady's name? It's slipping by my head now. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She was the chief counsel for the ACLU, for God's sake, and the Republicans voted her in.
Right.
Sotomayor.
Kagan, oh my God.
Kagan, they might as well.
They couldn't, but they're
shirts.
Activist judges. All three of them, and the Republicans always do the right thing. And, they might play a little bit. And if you've got a vulnerable senator up in a red district, then give them enough votes to get past, and we'll let these few, vote against or what have you. But they always end up making sure that the numbers are there and that these leftists get on the court. It is time they start playing some hardball. And my hope and prayer is that there's big, humongo bombshells, and people on both sides of the aisle are perp walked and put in jail over this surveillance of Trump. And then I say, take no prisoners. You shove this crap down their throat, because they.
And let's revisit Benghazi. Let's go back. There's some unfinished business that needs to be taken care of. If that gang of 8 knew about everything in Benghazi, then at least 4 Republicans ought to go too.
Well, and I think about this surveillance too. And you know what? In these situations, I was reading up on Title 50, and there are people who have to be aware of certain types of surveillance going on. And when all this occurred, I'm sure some of it occurred after the Access Hollywood tape, when some Republicans and some in power, like Paul Ryan, who would know about secret surveillance. I'm curious about who knew about all of this ahead of time, because I remember Paul Ryan being asked about Donald Trump's tweets, and he looked uncomfortable. And it wasn't because he was uncomfortable with the tweets. It almost seemed like he knew something.
Right. And, there's a reason. I worked in the military for many years, and there's a reason why there's a saying, did he sign off on that? Because there's an actual form. I don't know how the federal government at the executive level uses it, but I'm sure they have some instrument where every section has to read and initial it off anytime any operations order goes out or anything big. And I'm sure there's more than – it wasn't just a phone call between Obama and some guy. It had to be planned. But anyway,
and one other thing too, and I'm so sorry I'm stuck on this. I want to get to your other stories as well, but also look at the timing of the WikiLeaks bombshells that came out today. It doesn't necessarily have to be the intel agency spying on these people if the phones that they're using are compromised. And through the CIA, there may be situations where it was unauthorized access as well. So I just throw that out there for food for thought.
And I think just to wrap a couple of these stories up, what do we got left? We got Podesta, who I can't stand. That guy's a worm. One real quick one here, because you won't hear this on the news. President Trump and Vice President Pence met with the Congressional Black Caucus. That's not on any news anywhere. Let's listen to a quick clip, and we'll come back.
I'm deeply honored to welcome the members of the Congressional Black Caucus to the White House. I think we're going to have a lot of meetings over the years, and I very much appreciate you being here. Throughout my campaign, I pledged to focus on improving conditions for African American citizens. This means more to me than anybody would understand or know. Every American child has a right to grow up in a safe community, to attend great schools, to graduate with access to high-paying jobs. America has spent trillions and trillions of dollars overseas. I guess I heard just recently in the Middle East we've spent, as of about 2 months ago, $6 trillion. $6 trillion. And you know where we are over there. While neglecting the fate of American children in cities like Baltimore and Chicago and Detroit, African American citizens have given so much to this country. They fought in every war since the Revolution, and they fought hard. They've lifted up the conscience of our nation in the march toward civil rights, enriched the soul of America and their faith and courage, and they've advanced our country in the fields of science, arts, and medicine. Elijah Cummings, who was here about 2 weeks ago, who I happen to think is a terrific man. I don't know if he'll say that about me, but I will tell you, I really liked him a lot. And we were talking about drugs and prescription drugs and the costs. And you go to Europe, you go to Canada, you go to other countries, and you buy them for a fraction of what you pay in this country. And that's been a very big subject for him. And it's a subject for me that is very important. And we're going to either do it in healthcare, which I think we're going to do it in healthcare, or we're going to do it separately. But we're going to bid out drug prices, and we're going to try and have the lowest prices anywhere in the world, from really the highest. And that's not only the drugs, it's prescription drugs. But you go out to stores and you go even in any community, rich or poor community, and you look at the kind of drug prices that we're paying, and it's really unfair what's happened in our country. So we're going to be instituting a very, very strong bidding process. We'll probably need some legislation, but we're going to do it regardless. We have to do it. And we're going to get drug prices way down, way down. Some people think it's as important as the healthcare measure, because people are being ripped off when they need drugs. They need prescription drugs. And we're going to take care of that situation. So again, I very much appreciate you being here. It's a tremendous honor for me, and we're going to work on different things, and we're going to see if we can get a lot accomplished. And with that, let's get going. And thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
And that's where he kicked the press out of the meeting. You heard all those cameras going. None of those cameras had film in them. None of those pictures will ever see the light of day. No, I don't think anybody reported on that. If they did, I didn't hear it. But that was a big piece of what went on yesterday, and just historic. I mean, no other Republican's done that. I mean, I don't really like Cummings. I think he's a moron, but at least they're part of the discussion, you know.
And I think it was great, you know, and everything he said is so heartfelt. He truly believes in all of that, you know. He really does want the best for every citizen of this country. And I applaud him for sitting down and listening to concerns. And if I were Elijah Cummings, if he's not wrapped up in all the craziness that hopefully we'll find out about soon, I would find common areas like that and really make some changes in the inner cities. I mean, because what Trump says is so correct. They deserve better than this. They deserve better than the Democrat corruption that has kept this class of people exactly where they are while lying to them year after year after year that there is some other boogeyman responsible for their issues. And I think he's great.
Like you said, what have you got to lose? Mm-hmm. You know, it'd be pretty hard to see it get any worse. But the thing that gets me, we talked about Podesta for just a short second, but him, Susan Rice, you know, all these people are still out there. Susan Rice is giving counsel that it's bad when the administration doesn't tell the truth.
I know.
And Podesta's out there writing about things. Why aren't they in prison? These people, not only did they commit felonies, traitorous felonies, but they keep talking. They're still out there. Eric Holder comes to mind. Mm-hmm. They need to get snatched up and indicted. I'm telling you, I'm tired of this. Anyway.
I am too, and that's what I truly want, someone for once to go to jail for breaking our law. You and I would go to jail, and I want someone to go to jail. And I feel like I live in bizarro world when Susan Rice is talking about how important it is for America to have credibility and to speak the truth. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Was a liar.
I know.
Podesta's a little deviant individual. You know that. But anyway, that's all we got time for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Stacey, how can people get in touch with you on the interwebs?
On the internets. You can find me at DiscoveringMe40 on Twitter and The Right Rush on Gab. And thank you very much. I'll be listening in to Wayne's show.
All right. Thank you, Stacey. We always appreciate you coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening live, participating in the chat room, and getting some more of your friends to listen in to Cold War Radio. Wayne Dupree show's up next. I will be back on Sunday for Steel City Resistance at 8 p.m. I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning of the program. You have this every now and then. This is like my third job, but I love doing it. Thanks for letting us into your life for 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen. See you at the Wayne Dupree Show. God bless.